Rev up your engines!
Well, be hilarious if you have a 2021 F-150 because Ford's got a recall on them that the steering gear may be made wrong and it could lock up and you won't be able to steer it. Not a great thing. This recall is FSA recall 21S28. If you own one, look it up. National Highway Traffic Safety Association.org website. Put in your VIN number if you got a 2021 Ford F-150. You don't want the steering gear to lock up and you can't steer it. This isn't like power assist electric steering that when the motor doesn't work, you don't have power assist, but you still have steering. This is the actual gear inside the steering that if it locks up, you can't turn the wheel. Not that great of a thing. This is one of the scariest recalls I've seen in years. As the recall says, when operating affected vehicles, it is possible that the steering may lock up, causing a complete loss of steering control. I don't know, the quality control of these companies is starting to go down the toilet. They can't even make steering gears correctly anymore. I predicted this from the coronavirus stuff where they were getting people that were white-collar workers now working on the assembly line to build stuff that didn't know what they were doing. They need to get back to quality again, not just advertising that quality is number one on TV ads. No, actual quality, where they build the things like they used to. The only time in my days of being a mechanic that I'd see steering stop working was cars that had 300,000 miles and they finally wore out. Not brand new ones. Get things together and stop making these things so poorly. But the steering might lock up on a brand new 2021 pickup truck. It's starting to get kind of patently absurd. The problems these guys are having with manufacturing, not doing it correctly. I mean, it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting worse. Well, here we go again with lack of quality in Teslas. Tesla's recalling 6,000 U.S. cars because there might be loose bolts on the brake calipers. Yes, the things that stop you. Tesla says they will inspect and or replace the bolts. They can't even bolt these cars together correctly. All I have to say is him and his non-union, he wants to hire the cheapest people he can. I met a guy a few months ago here who used to work at Tesla. He was an engineer, but their contract was up and they found a company that did it cheaper. Well, guess what? Cheaper isn't always better. Usually it's worse. So if these bolts come loose, not only can the brake caliper come out, which is bad for braking, but then it can hit your tires when you're going fast, rip a hole in the tire, and wha-blam. Tesla did say that if this does happen to your Tesla and your tires go flat, they will arrange for a tow to the nearest repair station for you. Woo-wee! All I gotta say is they're covering their rear ends. Look at the lack of quality Tesla have. They're making garbage for extremely large amounts of money. I can't wait till Volkswagen starts making theirs. Electric cars down the road here in Tennessee and Chattanooga, they're gonna eat this guy's lunch. It's a company that's been making cars for a long time, not some clown who thinks he's gonna make cyber trucks around the universe. No, a real company that knows how to make vehicles that the brake calipers don't fall off on. Jay Gonzo 8826 says, I got a 2018 Infiniti QX60. It knocks at low RPMs. It's got a CVT transmission, and at low RPMs, the engine knocks. The dealer said it could just be the gas, but you know it's probably not. What else could cause it? And is anything the dealer can fix, given my SUV is still under warranty? Of course, it shouldn't knock. It should run on any gasoline you put in it. But just as a test, you say it's at low RPMs. Put in 1 tank of Shell Super V Power, their expensive gas, the highest octane gas they have. If the knocking goes away, it's partially the gas, but it should not knock, even with regular gas. Got a knock sensor on that thing. It could be something else. It could be that the timing chain on the engine is worn too. And of course, they never want to fix anything under warranty because they don't make any money on it. If they got to rebuild that engine with a new timing chain, that's a really expensive job. Do try the gas, but find an independent mechanic like me to check it out. He can hear the noise, tell you what he thinks it is, do a little analysis, and if he says, hey, look, here's the testing, it needs a timing chain, take it to the dealer. Have them put it on for free. Don't ask the dealer to diagnose it because they'll just say, oh, no, that's normal. That's a gasoline. They don't want to spend any of their time if they're not making a profit. And warranty work, they don't make a profit, so they're not interested in doing it. But by law, they have to. If another mechanic says it needs this, they're going to have to replace it free. Daria says the oxygen sensor needs to be changed. They're telling me that I might have to pay an extra $800 to pull the transmission to get it off. Are they giving me a bunch of baloney or not? Any good mechanic has correct tools to take take oxygen sensors off. I have like 15 different ones. So they'll fit in any place on a vehicle, and they'll take any of them off. They're just giving you a line of baloney it's hard to get to, so they want to charge you a bunch of extra money. And I've even in the past in Houston had people bring me cars, and they said they took the transmission off to do this. And I look at the car, I said, look at the bolts. I said, they're taking the transmission off. They're just lying to you. I said, did you see them take it off? No. They just said they did. And they charged them a bunch of money, $1,000 extra. That probably didn't need to be done. Anything can be taken apart on that vehicle without pulling that off. In most cases, push comes to shove, you heat up the old sensor with a torch till it glows red hot. Now, when it glows, you can easily take it off because metal, when it's red hot, is very soft and it can be taken off very easily. Of course, you heat it with a torch, it'll ruin the oxygen sensor. But what do you care? You're throwing it away and putting a new one on. Anyways, Hadji says, Scotty, I heard you multiple times saying that a problem might be because a transmission is slipping. What is it and how do I diagnose it? Pretty much self-explanatory. When a transmission slips, the gears are slipping. So instead of your engine spinning, turning the gears and turning the wheels, if the transmission's slipping, your engine will start revving up higher. The car won't accelerate fastly because it's slipping inside. And generally, it's because there's a serious problem in the transmission. Most of the time, they start to slip because they're wearing out internally. And it's very easy to tell. If you do have a tachometer on your car, just watch the tach, and normally it'll should go as it shifts. If it's just going higher and it's slipping and you're not accelerating, the speedometer doesn't pick up, you know it's slipping. It's not a good thing. And generally, to fix it costs a small fortune. So let's say you got a vehicle that starts to slip after you drive it an hour or two, showing that it's wearing out. Might be a good idea to sell that thing soon, get rid of it, trade it in on another vehicle, because to fix automatic transmissions these days, they can go in there at $3,000 to $7,000. It's a very expensive job, and from my experience and from what I've read too, 33% of the automatic transmissions in the United States that are rebuilt incorrectly and don't work right after you spend all that money. So it's a very chancy thing. Saturn Sucker says, I got an 03 Saturn View, keeps stalling when it warms up. I bought it at an auction. It stalls when it warms up. Security light flashes 4 times, then it starts up again. Here's the problem. You bought an auction car. You have no idea what the history of it is. They're at an auction because generally there's a problem and somebody just wants to unload it. If that thing, let's say it was flooded, especially like Hurricane Sandy with salt water, the whole electronic system will go squirrely. And I'm assuming that's your problem because you said the security light flashes 4 times and starts up again. When the security system goes bonkers, especially if it was flooded out, it's going to cost you a fortune to fix it. The only thing that I can think of that could be a cheap fix, let's pray it wasn't flooded in salt water, is try a new ignition switch. It's a GM product. They call them Saturns, but it's GM owned them. They had a lot of problem with the ignition switches. Could be just as simple as you just need a new ignition switch. Keep your fingers crossed and pray a lot because that'd be a cheap fix. Other than that, you bought an auction car. There's no saying it. The computer's been damaged from water, the sensors, who knows? But it could just be an ignition switch. Pray it's just that. Garden Fresh Vintage says our passenger van's worth it. I've been looking for late 90s, early 00s GMC, Savaria, Chevy, Astra for the past couple of weeks. I found a whole bunch of them low mileage to high mileage, but when I take them to my mechanic, they're all junk with a million problems. Should I continue to look for these or start looking for a different model? I'm asking the only mechanic I trust, you. Look for different models. Those things were junky to begin with. Now, yeah, late 90s, they were better made than they were today, but they just flat wear out. You want a passenger van? Look for Toyota Siennas. Yeah, they ask an awful lot of money for the Toyota Siennas, but you get one that's old enough. I had a customer in Houston that had one, and when it was 15 years old, he sold it to his lawn mowing guy for mowing lawns for $1,200, and the guy was happy. It only had 130,000 miles, ran like a clock. Look for an old Toyota Sienna. That'd be the only thing I'd look for if I were you. You could still get a decent price on an older one, and it can keep running and running and running. The American stuff, it's only got a limited lifespan, and those things are so old, as you find out, they all had a million things wrong with them because they're so old. They're old and heavy vehicles, so everything wears out. The ball joints, the suspension, the transmission, the engine, because they're old, heavy, and made in America, and the quality isn't what it used to be 3-4 decades ago. Nighthawk 9021 says, does leaving the AC on when turning off the engine harm anything? I've been told to turn the heat AC before turning off my car a few times. I forgot it. Does it hurt anything? No. Back in the day, it might have. 40 years ago, most cars didn't have AC then anyways. Your car has a whole bunch of what are called relays, electronic relays. They're safety devices to keep you from having any problems. And when you start a car, if you have the AC on and start it up, the relay isn't going to let the AC come on anyway. And once it's started, it'll let it go on. So it's not really going to hurt anything. That's one of the reasons they put all these relays on cars. Of course, another reason is to make them cheaper. Because if you don't have relays, then your AC switch has to be 12 volt, has to be stronger. The wiring goes to the compressor. Now, your AC switch are generally only 5 volt reference switches that send a signal to the computer. Then the computer will ground a circuit with 5 volts that goes to a relay. Then the relay bumps that 5 volts up to 12 volts and a lot of power, and then it operates the AC compressor and the fan. It's a safety device, but it's also a way of making cars cheaper, so it doesn't matter if you turn it on or off. It doesn't hurt anything these days in modern cars. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.